Today, we have a recap of last night's town council meeting. Some of the highlights include an update on the Youth Commission. The council votes to accept a state grant that will help pay for a pump-out facility in Hyannis Harbor. And we take a look at sports with Brenna McCubry. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Friday, January 17th, 2014. I'm Sarah Mantle. Precinct 13 Councilor Jen Cullum is now liaison to the Youth Commission. Cullum gave the council an update on her work with the commission at last night's town council meeting. The commission met last week at Barnstable High School with the chief of police and deputy chief.
It really gave me some faith in humanity. It was really nice to see them stand up for their peers and ask for what they need in schools. Patty Machado was there, and I'm really happy to be a member of this, our liaison to this committee. I think that it's a real benefit to our community. It's the voice that's been missing in this whole, I'm kind of realizing now that the wheel already exists, as Jen Barton had told me before, but the town really needs to be a spoke in this wheel and get out in front of this problem, which a prevention for drugs. And then last night I went to another really great meeting, which was, let me see if I can find it here, empowering our communities to prevent addiction. And this really brought it in the open for me that as a town, we need to be a part of this. We need to be actively a part of this. We're the missing spoke in this wheel. There were so many representatives from so many different just schools and nurses and doctors and addicts and recovering addicts. And I mean, it was amazing to see what's really going on out there. And sitting up here on the dais, I feel like we don't have our fingers even close to the pulse of this. It was very invigorating to see all the things that are available to help parents identify whether or not their kids may be in trouble. It was great to see kids there wondering if their friends are in trouble. I think that the dialogue has started, and I'm really proud to be a part of it. So I'm hoping that in the upcoming months we'll have some more stuff from the Human Services Committee that we can bring forth and give you guys some updates on what we're looking at for bullet points and action points for this council to take to make as elected officials to make us more responsible for what's really happening out there. So I just want to, every meeting I'll be saying something about it, but it was very impressive and I was really thankful to be a part of it. So
the Youth Commission meets the first and third Thursday of every month at Barnstable High School. More than $100,000 from the state will help pay for a pump-out station in Hyannis Harbor. The pump-out station will be used mostly for large commercial vessels coming in and out of the harbor. DPW Director Dan Santos says the facility is necessary following recent key changes to state law.
In 2012, Coastal Zone Management completed the task of protecting our coastal waters with no discharge areas. And the result of that is that particularly commercial vessels aren't allowed to discharge either treated or untreated sewage into waters of the Commonwealth. So that requires them to have to do something else with it. And what they've done in many areas, including in our own Lewis Bay here and in the harbor, Hyannis Harbor, is we have pump-out facilities, both for commercial and recreational users. What this project does, it represents basically a partnership between the High Line, Town of Barnstable, and Mass Coastal Zone Management to install a pump-out facility in the harbor there that will take primarily treated sewage from the High Line boats and pump them into our wastewater pollution control system. There will also be a pump-out facility in the Bismore Park area that will be available for both commercial and recreational users, but primarily this is for the commercial High Line users. There'll be 3 stations on their docks and in their facility. We need to work with them over the next few months to work out the details of easements and maintenance and things, but primarily this will be situated on their private property and then connected to the sewer nearby.
The council voted unanimously to accept that grant. The town will soon be able to purchase 3 new electric vehicles and a new charging station thanks to a $35,000 state grant. Energy Coordinator Richard Elrick encouraged the council to accept the grant prior to the vote.
This grant of $35,000 was applied for last summer, and of course we were recently awarded it. It amounts to $35,000. $15,000 are to go for the purchase, really as an incentive for 2 all battery electric vehicles. We also are receiving $5,000 to subsidize the purchase of 1 plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, and then as well up to $15,000 for the installation of 1 electric vehicle charging station. This grant really, I think most everyone would agree, promotes and continues the longstanding town council policy to reduce energy use, and indeed the previous town manager implemented a fuel-efficient vehicle policy which requires all new procurements or new purchases or leases of vehicles to be more efficient than the ones they're replacing. So in other words, the goal of the town is to try to consistently make its vehicle fleet more energy efficient. The purpose of these grants is to make the cost of the electric vehicles comparable to what you would have to pay for a gas-powered vehicle. The grants for the all-electric vehicles, as I said, are $7,500, which is equivalent to the tax credit you'll get if you bought an electric vehicle as an individual through the federal tax credit for electric vehicles. We'll be saving money certainly on fuel, on maintenance, much less maintenance. Fuel costs are about 60 to 70% less. So I think this is really a win-win. We've got a year to actually acquire these vehicles. It's very likely, though it hasn't been finally determined yet, that these vehicles will be going to our Regulatory Services Department. But we're still deciding which vehicles to get. We've got some flexibility there through the grant. Again, we've got a full year to make the acquisition for these vehicles, so we've got an opportunity to make sure we're getting the very, very best deal we can. And the grant can be used either for purchase or for lease. Looks like it's going to be used to subsidize the lease payments for the regulatory vehicles that we're going to acquire.
Ultimately, the measure passed with 11 councilors voting in favor of accepting the grant. Councilors Ann Kennedy and Phil Wallace opposed the move. Town councilors also voted to hold a public hearing regarding the proposed medical marijuana overlay district and proposed regulations for dispensaries. That hearing will be held during the planning board meeting February 6th. That meeting will air live right here on Channel 18. Now it's time to take a look at sports with Brenna McCubry.
Good evening, Barnstable. I'm Brenna McCubry, here to bring you the latest news on New England and Barnstable sports. The Boston Bruins beat the Dallas Stars last night 4-2. They will play again on Sunday afternoon at 12:30 in Chicago versus the Blackhawks. Tonight, you can catch the Boston Celtics as they host the LA Lakers at 7:30. You can find out who advances to the Super Bowl this weekend as the playoffs are underway. This Sunday, the New England Patriots travel to Denver, Colorado to play the Broncos. Kickoff is at 3. Taking a look at Barnstable High School sports, the girls varsity ice hockey team hosts Dennis Yarmouth at 5 at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center. They will play again Monday night away in Falmouth at 7. Here for all things New England and Red Raiders sports on Barnstable Today, I'm Brenna McCubry.
Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. That means that Town Hall will be closed. Also, the Federated Church in Hyannis is holding a service of commemoration Sunday at 3 p.m. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannell.